And that's exactly what we're here to talk about today. We've been doing a series on the 12 steps, that have brought many people with all kinds of different, what they might call problems or challenges, into recovery of their sanity, of their essential worth, of their freedom. It's something that's brought me to my freedom. And so the first thing that happened in step 1 is that we admitted we were powerless over addressing the problem at the level of the problem. That when we try to do that, we get maybe some temporary fixes, but it falls apart really, really quickly, and our lives are unmanageable. So we go on to step 2 that says we can address the problem at the level of the solution, which is that there is something higher, there is something greater. There was a power that can restore us. And in step 3, we make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to that power. Let the Lord of love rule us rather than the Melinda of Melinda ruling me. It works a lot better, I promise you, when I allow that love that is higher than me, that is part of that is all of who I am and that I am part of, that's constantly flowing to me to the degree that I allow it. And life works better. And then we get to sometimes the harder part, which is step 4, which is that we take a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. That means ourselves, not everybody else, and the problems they're causing us. In what way are we stepping on our own feet, standing in our own way, blocking our own light? What have we done that is not working for us? What are we carrying from the past that we still have not let go of and keep letting it affect us? So we get that down on paper. And then we share it with God, with ourselves, and with another human being. With God, because guess what? That is just really us opening up to our higher self, that not just Melinda on the lower level knows. Yes, my ego has to face these things, otherwise it just gets out of control. But then I open it up to the highest in me, which is God in me, and allow it to be seen from that view. And we share it with another person. And I've always thought the reason that we share it with another person is so we can't take it back. If you've only ever said it to yourself, whichever part of yourself, then you can go, never mind, I didn't mean that. But once you've said it out loud, it gives it a solidity in this world that, yeah, there are things that I've done that did not serve me. This isn't about judgment. It's about an inventory. It's about looking at what's there. And then in step 6 and 7, which is what we looked at last week, we become entirely ready to have God remove all of these defects of character, all of these things that don't serve us, all of the ways that we stand in the way of our own completeness. We get entirely ready, and to get entirely ready, sometimes we have to look at what's the payoff. If I'm still doing something that I know doesn't serve me, and over and over and over again, and I just want to let it go, but I don't let it go, then I have to look at and see, okay, why am I holding on to it? What's my payoff? What am I getting? Do I get to stay asleep? That might be the payoff, that I just get to keep my eyes closed and stay asleep, because it requires a lot more effort to be awake and aware at all times. Or do I get to have my pity party? They did it to me. And in that song, whatever it is you're throwing out there is coming right back at you like a boomerang. So we get entirely ready, and then we humbly ask. We don't try to fix it on the human level. We don't go, okay, I know what's wrong with me, and I'm going to fix it. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to overcome it. It doesn't work, and it's really painful to keep trying. And yet if we open it up to that Lord of love, we open it up to that love that is the truth of who we are, that is constantly available to us, and that is flowing through us at all times. We open it up to that, and we say, hey, use me. Use me. And today I can say, if there are things that I'm still doing that I have humbly asked God to remove from me, habits that I don't like, then sometimes I have to go, okay, if I've let go of the payoff, maybe this is being useful. to myself or to someone else. Maybe there's something that I'm teaching here. Maybe there's something more to be learned from doing this. And so the judgment goes out of it as long as I know that I'm being open, that I'm allowing that spirit of love to move through me. And then what happens, this is what we're addressing today, is steps 8, 9, and 10. Step 8 says, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. That's a lot of stuff. Made a list, okay? Right now, don't worry, no judgment here. We're not trying to judge. We're just putting it down on paper. We're just making a list. What have I done in my life that has been harmful to others? It's hard to look at, but by this time, having worked through all the other steps, we are in a place to look at it not from a vision of judgment, but from a vision of I live in the solution. I live in God. I live in love. Therefore, there is a solution. There is a solution. And yet, if I have harmed anyone along the way, it is mine to make amends for it the best I can. So I become willing to make amends for the harm I've done. And in step 9, it says, make direct amends wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them, the person we're making amends to, or others. And I think it's very important to remember that others is ourself too. I had a mother that if I said I'm sorry, and she was wonderful in so many ways. I bless my mother, I love my mother, I miss my mother. But if you ever said, Mommy, I'm sorry, she would say, you sure are. And she would tell you all the ways you were sorry if she was still in her anger place, which happened quite a bit. So I learned to get more creative with my words if I needed to apologize to my mother. So we use words when we become willing to make amends to people. What I have found miraculously is that the people I'm supposed to make amends to just show up in my life. The opportunities are created for me. They're just suddenly there. Somebody maybe I haven't seen in years, and I think, well, never going to see them again. And then suddenly there's this opportunity. What I found in my first time working through these steps is that the people that I owed amends to were generally the people closest to me. I didn't cause a lot of harm in the lives of people that were peripheral to me. I was always polite to them. The people closest to me are the people who got hurt by what was going on within me. And so it was mostly my family. And so I was able to say, you know what? I see how I've done this. I see how I have a pattern of doing this. I see how it's harmful. It hurts. I'm sure it hurts you. I know it hurts me. And I am sorry. I regret that has been a pattern for me. That's not enough. The apology is not the amends. To amend something means to make it right. So the amends is, and now I will stop doing that behavior to the very best of my ability. Now that I'm aware of it, I'm trying really hard not to do it anymore, and I just wanted you to know that. And we don't demand forgiveness because we're keeping our side of the street clean. We're not going, well, I did this, but you did that, which is why I did this, which is how we got in this. No, only our own side of the street. And we're not saying, here's what I did, please forgive me, because now we're asking for something. We're asking for absolution from another person who has the right to hold a grudge if they want to. My experience is, if we're very genuine about this, they usually don't. But still, we get that opportunity. It's very, very important to learn how to apologize, to learn how to stop what you're doing and go, wait a minute, that's not who I want to be. It's not who I want to be. Gandhi says that true happiness is when what you believe, what you say, and what you do are in alignment with each other. And I say hell is the gap between. If we're saying something but we're not doing it, if we believe something but we're not acting that way or we're not speaking that way, that's the gap, and that's where hell is. Hell is when you can't sleep at night. Hell is when you when you torture yourself over and over and over and over again for a single act committed in the past. Don Miguel Ruiz says, who's doing this to you now? You are using your own magic memory and imagination to continue torturing yourself about something that happened once. He says true justice is when there is one punishment for one act, and yet we punish ourselves over and over and over and over again. And so I am cleaning up my side of the street. I'm not asking you for anything. If you want to forgive me, that's awesome. Because really, your forgiveness is for you. It's not for me. No one can let me off the hook except me. If you ever find you're on the hook, take a look around. It's not the other person keeping you there. It's you. And you can let yourself off at any time. But it helps to go through these steps so you have a process by which you come to a clear understanding of what it is you're letting yourself off the hook for. And then it's easier to let yourself off. And so we make direct amends to people wherever possible. That means we don't go, okay, I'm never going to do that again, so I don't have to actually face that person. If that person is in our lives and there's an opportunity for us to do it, then we face that person. That's part of learning our own humility. That's part of not keeping our secrets anymore. Because the secrets that we think are secret, that probably other people can see quite clearly, the secrets are what keep us sick. The secrets are what brings us shame. And none of these steps is about shame. This is an opportunity to clear up any shame that you have and also to clear up any guilt you have. And guilt and shame are not the same thing. Shame is feeling bad about yourself. Guilt is knowing you did something wrong. They're not the same thing. Now, guilt can lead to shame, but we can have lots of shame without guilt. You ever have like a sleepless night and you know that something's on your mind, but you can't figure out what it is that's on your mind, or you would get it out, but you don't know what it is. You just know you can't go to sleep. That's hell, and it's probably shame. And so we find this way to clear out the shame. We find what is it that I'm guilty of? Is there something I'm guilty of? Maybe there's not. But if there is, what a simple thing to do. Say, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. And I'm going to go to the person to whom I did it and say, I don't want to do that anymore. And thank you for being my teacher in this, and I'm so sorry for the harm that I caused you. And I just want you to know, you don't have to forgive me, but I want you to know that I'm working really hard on that. I don't want to do it anymore. Then these 1,000 pounds of baggage that we've been dragging with us since childhood, often, we start to let go of that. I have a friend in the program who says, I love doing steps 8, 9, and 10 because then nobody's got nothing on me. Right? You're walking free in the world. You don't have to worry about what people are thinking. Now, people are going to think what they're going to think, right? But you know you didn't do it, whatever it is. You know you've made your amends for it. You know that you are clear. Then it doesn't really matter what they think or what they do. They don't have anything real on you. They have what they're projecting onto you, and they're always going to have that, and there's nothing you can do about that because that's on their side of the street. And all we have control over is what's on our side of the street. So I love this. May direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So like if you've had an affair with a married person, you don't call that person's spouse and say, I'm sorry I harmed you. That's creating more injury, right? It's creating more harm. Probably you don't even go back to the person with whom you had an affair and say, I'm sorry this didn't serve either of us, because there's no sense in opening that door. It's just not a smart thing to do. So think carefully about whether it would cause injury. But I also, you're another too. If it caused injury to them or others, if it causes injury to you, if there's someone whom you have harmed but is also someone from whom there is actual danger for you, mental, emotional, or physical, then you don't go directly to that person. You make what is called living amends. which is you say, what is it that I was doing? What was the pattern that this person got caught up in, that I was perpetuating? And how can I break that pattern? How can I break that pattern? And then we ask for God's help to break that pattern, because I don't know about you, but habits are really, really hard to break. And the more I dig down into, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, you know, it's like, don't think about a monkey. Then all you can think about is a monkey. I'm not going to eat any sweets today. I'm not going to eat the brownies or the cookies. Not the brownies or the cookies. Not the brownies or the cookies. Not the brownies or the cookies. Now we got brownies and cookies on the brain, right? So we allow God to take that from us. You know, if it be your will, I love this phrase, if it be your will, take that craving away from me. And if I'm still craving it, there's something to be learned from it. Either I'm learning willpower, or I'm learning a brownie or a cookie won't kill me. Or I'm learning that I'm judging myself for food, which, hello, you judge yourself because you ate something? No. No. You can judge, I didn't want to do that and I did it anyway, and that's the habit that I need to look at. But it's not the actual food or the actual substance of any kind that is the thing that is harming you. It's the habit. And so we ask for help with that. We make direct amends and we make living amends. Not just indirect, but living. That means every day. Every day when I realize that I'm harming myself or another by what I'm doing. And I tell you, on that step 8 list of people we had harmed, I had to put myself on that list. I had harmed myself most of all. I had harmed myself by deciding that the only way for me to be happy was to make everybody else in my life pleased with me. Yeah, and then bending over backwards to try to get them to be pleased with me, and they weren't pleased. I wasn't bending right. I wasn't bending enough. They couldn't see the bend at all. They wanted somersaults instead of bends. You just can't keep up with what other people want from you, which is why you have to turn it around and go into your own heart. What is it that is mine to do today? And I had to make amends to myself for trying to do what other people wanted me to do and ignoring what my own soul, my own heart, my own spirit, my own connection with my own higher power was telling me to do. So I had to make those amends to myself, and they were all living amends. I could say, I'm sorry, Melinda, but if I keep doing it, I'm just hurting myself over and over again. And so I have to make living amends. I have to do it differently from now on, to the best of my ability, the best I can with what I have right where I am. And I don't judge myself on that. If I find myself doing it again, I go, well, there it goes again. Okay, God. Apparently that hasn't been removed for me, so I'm going to need some help. I'm going to need to take my mind off the little fixation on what's on the effect and bring it back to cause. How can I be at one with the one so that my behavior reflects that, so that there's no gap in what I believe? I believe in love. I believe in the power of love beyond any other thing. That's my personal belief. And so when I say things that aren't loving or act in unloving ways, then I experience hell. And I do that to me. No one else does it to me. Not the news, not politicians, not my next door neighbor, not my spouse, not my dog. Only I have the power to harm myself in that way. And so only I have the power to stop harming myself in that way. I make amends to the best of my ability. And then the street gets cleaner, at least half of it. And you know, here's the thing. If someone throws you a rope, you don't even have to pick it up. There's no tug of war if you don't pick up your end of the rope. Gandhi also said, and I love this, it's just so profound and it sings to my heart, the first act of war is not the arrow shot. The first act of war is the arrow returned. And we're seeing some really obvious and physical ways that's manifesting in our world right now, in all kinds of ways. Oh, that can't stand. I can't let that stand. I got to come back with mine, which means I got to come back with mine. And that is all ego. It's all only ego all the time. There's no spirit in that. There's no love in that. And so we stop returning the arrows. We start recognizing them as arrows. Oh, that's an arrow. I don't have to bend over backwards to try to make it not an arrow, or try to convince them not to send arrows to me, or I sure don't have to take my own arrow and shoot it back, or take their arrow and shoot it right back at them, because that feels even better. Ha! Hoist on your own petard. No. I get to go, yep, that was an arrow. But I've determined to live a life that's different from that. I've determined that my life is to be led by the principle of love, which has no tit for tat. It's just love. So that's step 9, and then step 10 is like it. Step 10, and this is really valuable, because if you don't do step 10, you're going to find yourself doing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 again, which you really don't want to do a lot of. Step 10 is continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. So that means I have to stay awake. I don't get to just wake up once and then make the amends and go, okay, I'm good. Back to like I used to be. I have to stay awake. I have to stay aware. I have to keep watching what it is that my behavior is doing. I have to keep watching for the harm I'm causing myself and the harm I cause others. And there's lots of ways to do that. You can journal. You can, at night before you go to bed, just say a quick prayer saying, okay, what did I do today that feels like the me that I want to be, that I know that I truly am? And what did I do today that didn't feel like the me that I want to be, that shows the me that I truly am? And then admit, okay, I did that. Do better next time. If there are amends to be made, I make the amends. I make them as quickly as possible so they're not hanging over me, growing larger and larger and larger as I carry that heavy pack on my back. And then I live, that's called freedom, y'all. That's what freedom is. It doesn't have anything else to do with anyone outside you is doing. It has to do with what is going on within you. That is freedom. That is freedom. And I'll tell you, for a long time, and still sometimes, I'm not telling you what I've been cured of, just so you know. And yet, I am significantly different from the person that I was before I went through this process. And today, sometimes I find myself, something comes out of my mouth and you know what? That's not who I want to be right now. I'm sorry. Can we back up? Please forgive me. Here's what I really mean to say. You know, sometimes it's 3 hours after. Sometimes it's the next day. Sometimes it's 2 hours after. Sometimes it's 5 minutes after. And every once in a while, thank you, God, every once in a while I go, I catch it before it even gets out there. Isn't that nice? Yes. That's the gift of taking a pause. That's a gift of being aware enough to not be constantly in reaction mode, but to be in response and action mode. That is the gift of step 7, or step 8, step 9, and step 10, is I get to clean up my own side of the street. I get to live with my window clear and open so that I can see the world clearly. Because guess what? When we're carrying around all that stuff, it affects our vision. We see people differently. We see events differently. We see ourselves differently when we're carrying around guilt and shame. When we let go of it, when we know, absolutely, when we go to our hearts and we say, am I doing the best I can? The best I can with what I have right where I am. Am I doing that? Yes, I'm failing some, but am I doing the best I can? If I know that, then I begin to live from a place of freedom, and I get to see the world with much greater clarity than I ever would have otherwise. And so I become happy, joyous, and free. And that is what I want for all of you as well. Thank you. Okay, so we're just going to take a few moments for some meditation. I invite you to just take some deep breaths. Just to center yourself in your body. Here you are on a pew. Whatever's on your mind, whatever you came in with, whatever you have to do later, see if you can just breathe through that. No, not mine to do right now. All that is mine to do is to sit in this place and be present. Be present to the love, which is to be present to infinite power. And if you need a thought to occupy your mind, let this thought be it. Love is breathing me. I don't even have to breathe love. Love is breathing me. And with each in-breath, feel it as the love that is being showered upon you in every moment. That one love intimately involved in the function of your very cells. Every part of you, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. That love permeates, it infiltrates. And so on the exhale, we can breathe out that love into the world. When we begin to live with the knowledge that love is who we are, love is our birthright, love is ours right now, we come to a place of such personal safety. That we no longer feel ourselves withholding the love that we give to others. We no longer feel that we have to judge from the moment that we stop judging ourselves. And what that feels like is freedom. Because we understand that everyone is being breathed by love. And if not everyone is able to take that love in and know the truth of it, then that stirs our compassion, not our blame. And so we begin to inhale love and exhale, may you feel and know the love you are. May you feel and know the love that is the truth of you. May we know it for ourselves. May we know it for our loved ones. May we know it for those who drive us absolutely bonkers. Say this prayer, may you feel and know the truth of the love that is yours. The truth of the love that you are and I am and that we are. May I come to know that the wish for harm of any being wishes harm upon myself. Because we are one. There is no other. As the poet Rumi says, when we lie down in that field beyond right doing and wrong doing, even the words each other stop making sense. There is no each other, there is only us. And if a face or the idea of a person appears before your mind right now that you're having a hard time loving, it's okay. Invite them in. And say, of myself, I'm having a lot of trouble loving you right now, but the God in me already loves you totally and unconditionally. And today I make an effort to allow that God in me to lead, to sit in the driver's seat. May that love in me have the loudest voice. And see what happens when you say that. Do you feel a loosening in your gut? The love in me is loving you. Thank goodness, because little Melinda can't do it. Little old me ego can't. And so again, we remember that we are not doing it of ourselves. We are allowing the love, the beauty, the perfection, the glory, the power, the presence of the one to do the loving through us. And as we allow that grace, there is no way we can keep from being blessed with it ourselves. My good cannot be kept from me. I claim this blessing. I claim the blessing of love for myself and for everyone. Can you say that in your mind? I claim the blessing of love in myself and for everyone. And again, I claim the blessing of love. I claim the blessing of love. And know that the moment we claim it, it is ours. Shall we affirm it aloud with each other? I claim the blessing of love. Together, I claim the blessing of love. Oh, let's do it 3 times. Again, I claim the blessing of love. And one more time, I claim the blessing of love. And know that it is the truth of me, the truth of this world. And I am so grateful. And so it is. Amen.